Okay, hello Cloud Gurus and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we're just going to summarize what you've learnt in the previous lectures and in regards to Virtual Private Cloud or VPC. So if you're going into the exam, I would recommend that you are able to build your own VPC from memory. So go ahead and practice this, try and do it at least twice over. Deploy an EC2 instance into a public subnet as well as into a private subnet, and then use a NAT to allow that one in the private subnet to communicate out to the internet. And once you've built your own VPC a couple of times and you can do it just from memory, you are going to be a cloud guru going into any of the exams. Any networking question that comes up, you'll know how to handle it because you've done it before, in hands-on, and you can do it without following the lectures. So I would really encourage you to do that as part of your exam preparation. So let's just run through what we did. So we created a custom VPC. We defined our IP address range. So we did that using our CIDR, and it was 10.0.0.0/20/16 actually. So that was our IP address range. We then, when we created our VPC, by default, this created a network access control list and route table. We then created a custom route table. We created 3 subnets, so 10.0.1.0, .2.0, and .3.0. We then created an internet gateway. We attached our internet gateway to our VPC, and then we essentially created a custom route table. And then with our route table, we created basically a outbound route to that internet gateway. So we adjusted our public subnet to use the newly defined route. And then we provisioned an EC2 instance with a elastic IP address, and that was in our public subnet. And we also created an EC2 instance in our private subnet. And one thing that comes up again and again and again, guys, is just because you've got an EC2 instance in your public subnet doesn't mean that it has access to the internet. You need it to either have an elastic IP address or to have an elastic load balancer attached to it. So just remember that, okay? Just because you've put an EC2 instance in a public subnet doesn't mean it has internet by default. Okay, let's just summarize what we did with the NAT lecture. So we created a new security group. We allowed inbound connections to 10.0.1.0 and .2.0 for HTTP and HTTPS. We allowed outbound connections on HTTP and HTTPS for all traffic. We then provisioned our NAT instance inside our public subnet, and this point is key because this comes up in the exam. We disabled our source destination check for the NAT instance. Okay, that's the way you get the NAT instance to work. You have to disable source destination check, and this comes up in all 3 exams. So remember that going into the exam. And then we set up a route on our private subnet to route through the NAT instance, and that's where we did it just there. Okay, and let's talk about our access control lists. So access control lists can be across multiple subnets. However, a subnet can only have one network access control list associated with it. Access control lists encompass all security groups under the subnets associated with them. And with the rule numbers, you always start with the lowest number first. So it's incremental, starting with the lowest and then going up. And that's the way in which they're applied. Okay, if you guys have any questions, please let me know. If not, feel free to move on to the next lecture. Thank you.